In this video, we'll look at an example of a one-sample proportions t-test. I'll use Minitab, and we'll be given summarized data. In May 2016, a sample of World Campus students were given a survey. One of the questions on that survey was, do you currently use any wearable technology to track your level of physical activity? For example, Fitbit, Nike Plus, Jawbone. There were two possible responses, yes or no. Here's our research question. Do more than 1/4 of World Campus students use wearable technology to track their level of physical activity? I've summarized the data here. We obtained a sample of 440. In that sample, 115 said yes, 325 said no. The first thing we should do is check that our sample sizes are large enough to use the normal approximation method. In order to use the normal approximation method, both n times p and n times 1 minus p, in other words, the number of successes and the number of failures, must be sufficiently large. I like to use a cutoff of 10. From this table, I was able to find that the number of failures is 325 and the number of successes is 115. Both of these are sufficiently large, so we can use the normal approximation method. Step 1, write hypotheses. Recall our research question, do more than 1/4 of World Campus students use wearable technology to track their level of physical activity? So we want to know if the population proportion is greater than 0.25. Our null hypothesis is that p equals 0.25. Our alternative hypothesis is that p is greater than 0.25. We have a Righttailed test. Step 2, select alpha level. We weren't given an alpha level in our scenario, so I'm going to use the standard alpha level of 0.05. Steps 3 and 4, we're going to go to Minitab. Step 3 is to compute the test statistic, and step 4 is to find the p-value. In Minitab, we'll go to Stat, Basic Statistics, 1 Proportion. We have summarized data. Recall there were 115 students who said yes out of a total of 440. And we're performing a hypothesis test to determine if the population proportion is greater than 0.25. Under Options, we have to select a Righttailed test, and we check the assumption that the sample sizes were sufficiently large that we can use the normal approximation method. Here's our output. Step 3 is to find the test statistic. Here we have z equals 0.55. That's our test statistic. And step 4 is to determine the p-value, and here we're given p equals 0.219. Step 5 is to make a decision. Recall our p-value is greater than 0.05, so our decision is to fail to reject the null hypothesis. Step 6 is to state conclusion. We failed to reject the null hypothesis, so there is not evidence to state that the population proportion is greater than 0.25.